Ieri, dai, sì, sì. Oh. Ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones. And here we are for another segment, series, episode, whatever, of my tale behind the art compilation that I'm doing. I don't know. I'm losing track of words. I'm so tired. Anyway, cheers, everybody. Right. Oh, sorry, bud. Okay. So welcome, everyone. We are going to talk about my Saltare Lunae shoot. So this was an actual ritual that I did. Let me think about. Okay, so I want to say it's the Sagittarius Full Moon of 2023. Oh, hey, look at that! That is right. I wrote it down. I didn't think I would disclose that, but joke's on me. I'm pretty transparent, and I have a really hard time keeping secrets of like my life, and like because it's just whatever. I did what I did. This is the timing of it. This is the science behind it. This is the whatever. Try to sabotage it, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so this was at my house, my whale's house. We had a nice little fire pit, and then there's a garden. I was on an acid tab. I took a gel tab of acid. I think it was maybe a hit, might have been 2 hits. But anyways, a gel tab is all I know, and so it's pretty intense. Gel tabs are a lot more intense, and I was doing a whole ritual day. And Sagittarius is, the Hierophant. It's the inner child. It's the I say the journeyman, but the adventurer. There's a lot of philosophy associated with Sagittarius. I have a Pluto in Sagittarius, and that's a 9th house energy. Love Sagittarius energy. But especially for me, it was the connection to the inner child. And that was a lot of release in this. But as I am enjoying acid trip, I got into this is so for those who have heard me talk about this before, this is the trip where I tell people I was yelling at Malik. So take that how you will. I'm swinging in my hammock, looking at the sky as the sun is, it's not really set. It's like late afternoon. So I don't want to say it's like setting because it's summertime. Curious. Yeah, Gemini. So June. So this might be before the solstice. I can't quite remember the exact timing of like when it is in correlation to the solstice, but it's 2023. Things are just been canceled brutally and docs brutally on TikTok, and things weren't going as well as I wanted it to go at the stores I was putting my candles in. This was a year I put a lot of my products in stores. I did a lot of consignment gigs and things like that. So I was just, I don't know, after taking the an acid tab in January, this seemed like a pole, like portal bridge connection thing. Anyway, I don't know, I just fully trusted my intuition on this. I'm not like a consistent psychedelic user. I'm not a consistent substance user. I go through so many different cycles and phases. For those who may not recognize, I'm perfectly sober, have been for quite a few of my videos. But those who might be hung up on my meltdown over having anxiety and needing to smoke before I did videos, here's full circle in that I'm over my anxiety, my fear, my hesitancy over being comfortable in what it is I'm doing. I still fumble over my words. I'm still not the best podcaster, but I am wholeheartedly and uniquely Sarah. So with that, I'm in this phase of psychedelic use. So about 6 months, pull into Sagittarius Full Moon, and I'm on a hammock, and I don't fully remember what I'm thinking, but I was seeing this presence. We'll call it a presence in the clouds, and there was like a bull Taurus like energy to it, and I'm sitting with it, and then the name Malik pops up into my head, and I was like, what do you want? I am very sassy. I'm a super sassy bitch, especially when it comes to the gods, the deities and the demons and whatever else. Like, I like to take things fairly metaphorical, as I've repeated in my spiritual path, but I also like don't take me too literally. But in this experience, Malik manifests. So Malik is the devil tarot. There's a lot of symbolism within Malik, and also he's a Canaanite deity. There's you can see it. You can see fire sign symbolism in I would say Malik not just being an infernal Goetia deity or figure, but just in like the war like essence. And my Pluto is in Sagittarius, and the devil in Pluto, you can see some underworld aspects of that. There's a lot of different symbolism, and we could get lost in explaining that and dissecting it. But to get to the ritual and like the photos that came from it, because I love these photos. But I'm on a hammock and I'm yelling. I thank God I didn't like my neighbors weren't that close, but I mean, if the neighbors that were around, they might have heard me with the echo of the cornfields, or maybe I wasn't as loud as I thought I was. Could very well have all been in my head. I'm on acid. Who knows? And so I'm yelling at Malik about everything going on in my life. My husband started shifting with me and the path that I was on. And I say shifting as because he was questioning things. He was starting to get his family involved. He didn't really have a whole lot of people he could talk to. I didn't have a whole lot of people I could talk to either. Like, I definitely couldn't really talk to my family about what the fuck I was doing. But I could talk to him. I could talk to my husband. We were on this path together, which I thought we had confirmed at my last acid trip. But again, acid misinterpretation of certain things because and on a soul level, I knew he was with me. But on a conscious, non-psychedelic plane, he was questioning things very logically. And here's the thing: I don't blame my husband for his thoughts or his opinions or his feelings or anything, but he had to really have a lot of faith in me and what it was that I was doing. And I felt like I was failing him and failing myself. And I was really angry. I was really angry at the gods. And so like the devil, I was yelling at the devil, you could say. And because like I said, all the doubts of what I was doing, I was like, you fucking said that if I did X, Y, Z, then I would have 1, 2, 3, and like the math ain't mathin', and fuck you, and fuck this, and I am dedicated to my fucking path. And I'm having like this spiritual, existential fucking meltdown in my hammock, yelling at the sky. Which who would have thought Malik would have been in the sky? Because he's the devil, so he should be in the ground, right? But anyways, I'm yelling at him and everything going on in my life, and there was something. This was separate. There was this separate thing of like, I guess, choosing a different path, and choosing the path was letting my husband go, and that's when I got really fucking angry, and I was yelling at Malik, and I was like, you son, like, what, you motherfucker. I was like cussing him out. And I was like, he is coming with me, or so fucking help me, I'm not doing what you fucking want me or need me to do. And I don't fully understand what that meant. But I was like, I'm dragging him behind me if I have to. Like, I will knock him out and take him with me. You guys need to get some shit together. You need to do some work with my husband. You need to figure out whatever the fuck this is, because I'm not getting divorced. And if I do get divorced, you can fucking forget about any deals that we made. It's just all this kind of crazy stuff. That's when I realized the shift, because I went from me yelling at Malik to hearing this external thing that wasn't associated with the conversation I was having with Malik. It was separate, but like merging into it, like infiltrating the connection, so to speak. I don't know if that's like a good way to say it. Because like everything up until that moment was green flag with my husband, soulmate, twin flame, like divine count, whatever you fucking want to say. But like I've always been really secure in Chad and our relationship, even through all the struggles I've had my own healing moments and wounds and questioning. I feel like that's typical in any relationship. You're gonna have these moments where it's like, fuck, did I make the right choice? And I think that that allows you for discernment and also to not get stuck in delusion. I think questioning is healthy. And that's why, again, I don't blame my husband for questioning me and the path that I forced us on, for lack of a better phrase. It was quite abrupt. And I think he would have preferred a gradual pace. And I'm not gradual. He's an earth sign, I'm an air sign. I am speed and he is slow and steady. And we've had to learn a lot with each other in that way. But him getting his family involved, and they really tainted the picture of us, and they were infiltrating a lot. And I had voices around me, like people, there's been a lot of energy of trying to separate my husband and I. And I think it's because we are such a power couple at us, and even at our worst, we're still a power couple. We are beautiful mirrors and adversarial forces for one another. We really motivate each other to be better and to be our best selves. We force each other to grow, and we have a solid friendship. And I think that's why it's really hard to break up our marriage, because at the end of the day, our friendship is one of the most beautiful things that we have. And I really love him as a human being, as a soul, not just my husband. And I would argue he feels the same. I don't want to speak for him, but I feel like that's kind of obvious in our dynamic. But so there's a lot of infiltration in that aspect of things. And it didn't work, but there were moments, just like in any story that you read or watch or whatever, there's always those peak plot moments where, oh, there's a spell over him, and Sleeping Beauty went to sleep and Prince Philip had to save her, or whatever the situation is. So there was obviously this thing happening that was infiltrating and kind of veiling my husband. And I got a real deep insight into what was going on behind the scenes, because it was so subtle. And I was really at a loss for what was happening, because this is not how it was supposed to be, which is part of what I was talking to Malik about, which is like, what the fuck do you mean? And it's like, and then I was aware of all of these other things happening. And in that moment, I looked around. It started to get cooler outside. It was a more crisp I want to say it's early June, Michigan day. I just kind of sit there and I'm like, I'm going to build a fucking fire. And so, I built the most chaotic fucking fire in my life. I could build a better fire sober. I'm not the best fire builder. But definitely that's a blue job. That's my husband's job, not my job to build a fire. Build me a fire, be a man. But he wasn't there. He was at work. He had started working nights at that time. And so I'm kind of like unemployed, doing things for myself. But instead of, focusing on, this was part of my business plan, by the way. I was trying to figure out why the fuck things were going haywire. It wasn't working. And I'd done a lot of sober meditations, and I was like, no, I need to get into it. I need to get into it. And I need something. Like I was doing all kinds of stuff to call upon all of the things to give me the answers that I needed. And so in that moment, as I'm seeing this, like, I guess, breach in the frequency or the channel or whatever, fire, I realized I had been outside a long time and the sun was setting. And so I built this crazy fire and I start burning everything. So Rebecca, darling star heathen, the astrologer that I was working for, I started doing ritual guides for her astrology magazine. And I had purchased copies. Crazy that fucking bitch didn't give the people who were working with her a free copy, but I didn't think about it at the time. Now I'm pissed about it. Years later, I'm fucking mad. Because like, why I would, but that's a projection. I'm projecting myself on other people. Can't do that. But anybody, I would think, any virtuous, integrous person who's doing something is going to like, hey, you wrote this. Here's a free copy for you. Even so, just fucking something, because she wasn't paying me to write. I was writing for free, and on top of everything else that I was doing. And that's part of why, like, we quit, because I acid trip. Sorry, I just realized something. I did my acid trip in January, and it was part of my creative process. I was really struggling with this Pisces ritual guide and what's going on in my life. Like, just so much was going on, which is why I followed the intuition to take the first acid trip back in January. And I was technically late in my submission to her. I've talked about the story a little bit in my memoirs and all of the above, but I was late. I submitted to her like 3 in the morning, her time in California, I think. And I get it. Like, the deadline was the 25th or whatever the fuck it was. And I turned it in at 3 a.m. on the 26th. But if the deadline was 25th, that means 11:59 on the 25th is technically still not late. She should have specified 3 p.m. on the 25th, because she's like, well, I'm going to give myself all day these days to format. So please submit your thing here. And she's just a fucking bad manager. And I am a procrastinator. So both flaws, both our fault, but it could have been collaborated peacefully. And somehow she didn't have enough time to put in my ritual guide into this edition of her magazine, but she gave herself all day. So if I would have turned it in at 11 p.m. and it technically would have, like, are you just doing a power play to like prove like, oh, you didn't meet the deadline, so fuck you, which I hate when people do that, by the way. You're asleep. This didn't affect you. My problem. And she's like, well, I just felt bad for you. Maybe you're putting too much on your plate. I mean, you're working 40, 50 hours a week as an OT. You're doing this, you're doing that. And I just got fired. I got fired 2 days. I quit / got fired. Or the day before or something. There's like a lot going on. This is all kind of happening at the same time or whatever. And I was just like, this makes no logical sense. Oh, I get it. I'm going to do better. And like, but hey, this could have been a learning experience where tell me 3 p.m. deadline, give me a time deadline or something. But if you tell me like, oh, I'm going to give myself these 2 days to format it, have the work to me on this day. If I turn it into you while you're asleep and you haven't even woken up and you haven't even started work yet, it didn't fucking affect you. So shut the fuck up. I get really irritated about those business micromanagement dynamics. I am not an easy person to work with for a variety of reasons. As I just disclosed here, it's perfectly understandable why I have been fired in the way that I have been, or all the things that have happened in my life. But all of that is to say, so I purchased the ritual guides because I wanted to support her. I wanted copies of my work to frame, all of the above. Like the first one, I bought 2 of the Capricorn one because it was my first cycle. Funny how a lot of things start for me in winter solstice. Funny how a lot of things start for me in Capricorn season. There's a lot of endings, but a lot of beginnings at the same time. It's fun to think about. So anyway, I burned everything. So those were some of the things that I burned. I burned artwork that Rebecca gave me. She had this like water dragon spirit. If Rebecca gave it to me, it went in the fire. If it had anything to do with Rebecca and Phoenix and that whole Astro Babes, whatever the fuck. There's a girl named Miranda. The only thing I didn't burn and I refused to burn are my dragon runes from Cave Bear Woman. Even though I thought about it, but I don't. It's fine. I made my peace with my dragon runes. And Cave Bear Woman, I don't know how involved she got, but Rebecca and Phoenix, those 2. I don't know how involved Miranda was. There was just some things, and I kind of just hate everybody, to be honest. But I didn't really involve Cave Bear Woman to burn that, but I burned everything else. And I burned my degree, my my OT degree. I burned every college. I went through so much stuff. I'm pretty sure this was not a good thing because I couldn't, like, I remember seeing them and then I don't remember where they went, but I'm pretty sure I burned all of my savings bonds from my great grandpa, which I don't know how much it would have actually like accumulated to. I've heard from my brother that it's not what, and a lot of people, that the savings bonds weren't what they could have been, but I remember seeing them. I thought I put them somewhere else because I was like, well, you know what? Even if it's only a couple $100, the way things are going for me, that would be swell to at least have that, you know? So don't know what happened to that. Probably ended up in the fire because could not find them, still can't find them, have no idea what the fuck happened to them since that moment. what that means, I don't know, but I burned everything else. I found stuff from Christopher. I found a bank account statement from some money he wired me. He helped me pay for college. I was short like $300 for a semester, and my mom wasn't gonna give it to me. She couldn't give it to me. That's actually how I started talking to my dad. Is I was so stressed out. I needed $300 for my semester school, or I was gonna have to drop out and my life was gonna be over. So anyway, I told Christopher about it. He sent me money. Super sweet of him. That was one of these like moments where I was like, see, we're not casual. No matter how fucking groupie casual he fucking tries to play me out to be, we weren't casual. I had your fucking bank account information. And I was like, I save receipts. Mainly because I was told that you have to keep everything. I'm definitely part of that generation where you got to keep everything. And so to find that, I look back at it and I was like, dude, that stupid fuck. I was so angry. There's so much anger as I was finding all this stuff that just kind of confirmed all these lies and bullshit that I was doing with all these people. High as fuck on acid. I was not like I don't know if this was the peak of the trip. This was that was the most like cyber psychedelic trip I've ever experienced. Like if I had to compare it, it would be like, was it Dark City or like The Matrix, like, or Equilibrium? My husband and I just watched that film. But there's definitely like a weird sci-fi feel to it. Not so like my other trips felt real psychedelic, and I don't know how to describe that. Anyone who's taken psychedelics knows what I mean. Real chill, real flowy, real whatever. This was cyber and computer and techie and very odd. So I can't really tell you at what point was the peak of the trip, but I am getting angry. I'm grabbing everything. I'm burning everything. So I burnt the evidence, the proof that I had Christopher's bank account information, which I didn't need to keep, and I only wanted to keep to prove to people that I wasn't a psycho for trusting this man, because like he trusted me enough to send me money and I trusted him enough to send him money. Like we supported each other financially. There's a lot of things in that dynamic, but that all kind of came to a head. And I mean, there's videos. There are videos that I created of this ritual. And so there is still some level of proof. I believe it's on my TikTok, maybe even my Instagram. Who knows if it's still on Instagram. A lot of stuff is on TikTok. I love the way I create videos on TikTok. I hate TikTok, but I like the content creation side of it. So anyway, doing all this stuff, all of this anger, and I'm burning it in the fire. And then the sun sets. So I continue on with so once I burned everything and got the fire nice and big, I messaged my husband, fucking novel, and I tell him, I was like, you are gonna come home, because he would get home at like 2, 3 something in the morning. You're gonna come home, you're gonna meet me outside by this fire, you're gonna make love to me under the stars, and we are in this together. If you don't fucking do this, we are like, I'm just like, we're done. I'm not doing this. I don't know if he knew I was on acid when I sent the message. I may have told him. This might have been something he found out about later. I like to ask for forgiveness, not permission, especially from a man. So poor dude, stressed out of his marbles, going through his own existential crisis. And then he's married to a very psychotic witch. It was also probably the sexiest thing you've ever seen. Like it was a sensual message with a lot of anger, a very fire sign. I loved it. Loved every ounce of it. And so anyway, I'm burning everything, and the moon, everything's just gorgeous. It's a full moon, everything. So I stripped down. I'm like, I'm going to be stereotypical witch. I don't even know if this is like genuine magic or if this is just Hollywood, but I'm going to dance naked around the fire. I was like, I'm going to free myself and I'm going to do something I've always wanted to do, but I haven't done for all of these purity culture reasons. And like, my neighbors are like a good mile or so away. Like, if they see me, who fucking cares? Like, there's all of these things and reasons why I hadn't done it. And I was, no, I'm going to fucking do it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like the fight. And then I remembered, so for people who have been following all the series, my Rouge photo shoot, which was inspired by all this candlelight, I was like, I wonder if I could have these really beautiful, fun feminine goddess dancing by the fire. Like I wanted the photos and I wanted the lighting. And so I start recording myself just like kind of dancing around the fire. And then I kind of forget about the camera like a little bit, like it's in the back of my mind. And then I throw on herbs and I'm like doing all kinds of stuff around this fire. And I get lost in all of it. And then my husband comes home. He comes straight to the backyard. He didn't even go through the house. He just like went around and came to the backyard where I'm at. And he sees me and he's exhausted. I can see the exhaustion, like the soul exhaustion all over him. I can feel it. And he sits in the chair. I put a chair next to him and I'm doing my thing. But I had a chair for him. And he sits in the chair and he sits very like, my husband has like decent posture and like he always tends to sit very upright. He very rarely slouches and relaxes into it. So he's like sit up and very proper king. And I envision Malik on a throne while I'm looking at him. And I'm coming down a little bit at this point because it's like 2 in the morning. He got home a little bit early. Because acid trip to me up to like 12 hours. So I was still feeling effects, but I wasn't like at this crazy psychedelic peak or anything like that. But I do see that essence within him. And, and he's looking at me and he goes, dancing by the fire, huh? And I was just like, yeah, and it was real cute. And I could see him like kind of perk up and like, this is why I married this crazy lady. And like I could feel certain doubts just kind of like go away, but he was still obviously tired. And he is committed to me in every way as he's doing what I asked him to do. Not only was I threatened to leave him, which I don't think it was that subtle. I think it was more, don't think I threatened to leave. I think I was more of just like, I will be really fucking mad at you. And this will be a real problem in our marriage that I don't know if we can come back from. So hinted at like things, but I was just like, I was bearing my heart out to him with also some like sass. Like I needed him to know, like, no, like this is not just some crazy dreamy Sarah idea. This is like real actual magic, occultism, witchcraft. And I married an occultist for a fucking reason, you fucking motherfucker. And you're gonna commit to this path and actually engage in some fucking ritual with me, or so help me, you're a fraud, just like everyone else. I let out a lot. That wasn't he needed to hear, but it wasn't really him. It was more so me asserting myself and protecting myself away from all of these frauds that I've encountered in the past. But it's also my husband having to answer his call. Like he knows who he is and he's struggling to embody it very similarly to how I'm struggling to embody all of this. And like we're doing it and we're doing it together and then we're not looking back. Or I'm going without you. And I tend to tell people all the time, I will leave you behind. It will break my heart and I will make it look super fucking easy. Doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean I'm not sad. Doesn't mean I'm not devastated, but I will leave you behind. And I made that very clear with my husband. Despite what you might think about me, I will leave you behind if I have to. I don't want to. So please come with me. And he chose me. My husband has always chosen me. And so anyway, he's sitting all proper and I see the throne and I just get all giddy because I'm such a giddy bitch about him. And I sit in his lap and it's probably just like the best moment of his life. One of the sexiest things I could just picture us. Like I want to take photos. Like I want to really set up a nice throne with a huge fire. I want the forest. I want like maybe even inside in like an old mansion, haunted mansion kind of style thing. But outside's nice with a bonfire. But I want a really nice throne. And I want him like pretty decked out. And then I want to be naked all over him. I think that would be a really fun shoot. It's been in my ideas that I don't mind sharing with the world because recreate that. I think every couple needs a ritualistic photo shoot like that in their life to really connect to that divine feminine and masculine, but very specifically for like Chad and I and our Saturnian energy. That's why Malik is significant, ruler of the Devil Tarot, which is ruled by Saturn and all these other symbolisms. Chad being a Capricorn, my own Capricorn stellium, but I'm also super Aquarian. So that there's a lot of Saturn energy between the two of us. And so I was really embodying that. Yeah. And then we made love under the moon. And it was just like one of the most perfect moments. What a roller coaster of a day. One of the most perfect days of my life. From there, I mean, I've had moments, even worse moments with my husband where we really went to war about the situation and the path we were on. But I think that insight of there is external forces infiltrating your channel and your connection, I had to be very aware of that. And so even through all of these moments, to not get paranoid about people are sabotaging me, and like I didn't want to go down that path, but I definitely wanted to keep in mind, like, I know my husband and I know our relationship, I know myself. I just have to endure these storms, and they're coming to the surface for a reason. Because every time anytime anything comes to the surface with my husband and I, it's for this healing release. It always works out because, again, we have such a solid friendship and a genuine respect for one another, or so I would argue. You never know. He could surprise the shit out of fucking everybody, the gods and all the above. But anyway, so we had this moment together and these photos, which I love. Like, you see the sparks flying, me nude. I had a stick. I'm like mixing everything in the fire. You see me throwing the herbs. And like, I mean, I'm barefoot, all of it. And part of it's just, I also wanted to see what I might capture. Because when you record rituals, there's a lot of hidden things that you might see. And there wasn't anything, that I would say I didn't see, like from the photos. Like everything that I saw in the photos, I did see with my eyes in the moment. So I didn't capture anything overly, crazy, but if anything, I just well documented this really beautiful ritualistic moment, full moon experience in my life. And I absolutely love it. A lot of it was fun. I kept a lot of these to myself for a very long time because there's more root chakra, there's more pussy shot than than I am comfortable. I tend to try to keep this area a little bit more reserved. I'm not like against the nudity in that sense, and depending on how it's presented, like in here, like it's fairly blurred, but you don't have like full on crotch shot. I think like full blown crotch shots, that's where you get too pornographic, and the art can, not always, but can go away. I think it's all on how it's presented. So I'm real cautious of that. And I think that's the same way with like penises and everything. Like this lower abdomen area, I to an extent have as free and open as I am. I also feel like there is like a sacredness to it. As much casual sex as I've had in my life, I also think you need to be just a little bit more intentional. And that's because I learned that lesson. I learned that yes, there is a boundary of casual encounters, but then you also still need to be deeply intentional with those casual encounters, and just everything that you learn as a 20 something growing up in the 20 teens, 2020s, and whatever, this generation's moment in time with all of these cultural influences. This is my takeaway from it is, yeah, no, you don't have to wait till you're married, and you don't have to limit the amount of partners you have, but definitely don't jump into bed with someone for any other reason outside of genuine sexual chemistry. And I don't mean like lustful, like, oh, he's attractive and you can go for it. And it doesn't have to even be overly romantic. Like, you can do sex magic with someone who you just have mutual respect for in a humanitarian way. But I also believe that the most powerful sex magic you can experience is when you have your divine counterpart and you're in it together. The emotions, the magic, the experiences that I've had sexually with my husband in that perspective and in that understanding of sex and chemistry just completely blew my mind and has erased any other argument I've ever had for certain levels of hookup culture, which I used to advocate for, and I still do. I don't think everyone's designed or meant to have a monogamous partnership. I don't think everyone's soul incarnated for that experience. My understanding of my husband, I tell this story all the time. on my Maybon mushroom trip of 2021, because we were still at the Dryden house, our first house together. I was on mushrooms, so Chad's pretty much sober. While I'm doing all of that, we've taken mushrooms together a couple times, but most of the time I'm doing something and he is just there, witnessing, protecting, guarding, all of the above. But I'm in my circle of candles, and we're having sex with everything, and I saw his fawn form. I tell people, I call my husband Asmodeus. I express him to look like Pan, the Greek god, in a variety of different poems and mediums. You know, Melanoe and Asmodeus is solely inspired from this mushroom trip and everything that I saw. But I saw us of like, so it to be graphic, like we're like, we're kissing and stuff, but from the moment, like, it's crazy how things happen. So like we're kissing and I'm just kind of feeling like increased like sensations, but from the moment he entered me, I don't know how else to say it, but from the moment things truly began, consummated, we were intertwined. I went from being present into the reality of like our human physical forms, and I went straight into every life we've ever had together. It was him and I, him and I, him and I, him and I since the dawn of time. And you can't change my mind. So when I talk about this ritual in this photo, the what do they call it? Saltare Lunae. When I talk about this and why that disruption of frequency was so significant and why I was so angry, it's because why would you show me this just for it to be an illusion? And I'd had I'll call her dumb cunt. I fucking hate Angela with my whole chest. I can't stand this bitch. New Moon 22, she can get fucked. Everything about her can get fucked. But she told me, she had me in tears, telling me that I was wrong and I misinterpreted that experience, and that was actually a karmic relationship that I have refused to give up since the dawn of time, which there's an argument for. There is an interpretation for that. I rebuke it. I do not accept that in my reality as my truth. That's not my story. And I knew from the moment she told me, I felt it like deep in my gut. Like that's not what I experienced. Like you can't, like, there's so much in such a short amount of time. There's so much that I saw and that I felt and that I knew. And you're not going to change that. Like all of these like seeds of doubt, it was kind of like you're trying to put, the rabbit back in the hat. So if everything exploded, like that can of peanuts and all the fucking things come out, it's a fucking motherfucker to squish all that back in the box. Pandora's box. The box is open. You can't put it all back in the box, right? So everything that I found out and learned on my own in isolation, as I started to, I guess, publicly express myself, people are like, "Oh fuck, we got to put this back in the box." It's almost like there's these souls and spirits around there that, Agent Smith, that find me out, and then like, we got to let it back in the box, and like you can't undo what's already been done. Now I know I've broken free of this illusion, of this paradigm, of this structure. I'm out of the cave. You're not putting me back in the cave. I refuse to do it. But there have been what I would argue are very obvious attempts at putting both my husband and I back in the cage. Because just how we met, everything about us and our story, I just feel like is for some divine purpose. And we met a lady at the grocery store who confirmed that in her own, but she was another agent. I'm not crazy, I promise. I'm speaking very metaphorically, but it's like she's another Agent Smith she was trying to redirect us. And it's like, okay, well, we can't break them up. We can't separate them. So how about we just rechannel their purpose and give them a different sense of direction? Why don't we send them down this tangent or side quest? Nay, nay, nay. I'm too smart for that. I might start, but we'll always veer back. We might swerve, but we'll always veer right back onto our path. And so, anyway, this photo shoot, this creative project, it's all screenshots of videos, which is a lot of my projects, as we'll get into. A lot of my projects are videos of me posing or just doing ritual work or something, and then I screenshot it and edit it and create art from my everyday experiences, but I attach symbolic intentions into it all, which as we continue to dive into my work, you'll understand. That is Saltare Lunae. And yes, we can go. We'll go into the Lupercalia. So I'm trying to do a couple sets per video. There's so many. Even though I was probably yapping for so long. This one will probably, it might be quick. So this one, when do I have this date? So this one, yeah. So this was Lupercalia, Valentine's Day. There was an eclipse. There's a solar eclipse. I don't remember the date. It just says 2024. This was at the whale's house. I'm outside in the yard. And I wanted to sunbathe under the eclipse. That was what started it. And so I took a sheet out and I was gonna like hide behind these raspberry bushes that we have. We have blackberry and raspberry bushes and chicken coop and a few other things. And I was gonna hide behind it, and lay naked under the eclipse and just meditate and absorb. And then from there, I got the idea because I really liked how the black sheet, it kind of looked like a hole in the ground from like the grass. And like, I just felt like it was like a rising from the underworld, which at that time of year was significant. It was also an oddly warm day. Like the fact that I could be naked outside at that time of day or time of year in Michigan was insane. And I'm not saying, I mean, it wasn't overly comfortable. Like it was definitely chilly, but it was a peculiar day. I'm pretty sure this was done in February. I'd have to look back. It could have been March, but I called it Lupercalia, and it could just be because there is a romantic essence, and how I edited it was inspired by the Galentines. Like I liked that color scheme that Silvana had done, and so I kind of wanted to replicate those tones within this. But I grabbed all of my animal bones that I had and I put them everywhere because I wanted death symbolism, like this. Like it kind of was like I was floating in a black portal, a black hole from the underworld or whatever, from the core of the earth. And then there's bones all around me. It definitely wasn't perfect. It didn't quite edit the way I wanted it to, especially because, well, I didn't have the right stands and I'm recording myself. There's a lot of things where you need a second person, someone to tell me how I'm doing. Chad's at work, so he couldn't take photos for me at the time. Our time is limited when we get to like create together, and I definitely didn't have anyone I could trust at this time to ask to do these photos for me. It's something I definitely wanted to do for myself. And so you can see the imperfections in it. There's some photos that like I got the angle like just right and it was fucking perfect. And then there's others that weren't perfect, but I didn't crop it out because I didn't like the crop. And so I just left it. So yeah, you might know that I'm just a naked bitch laying on a sheet in the grass of my yard with bones everywhere and flowers, but there's still such a, especially like the top photo, like how the edit pales out my skin. You can see the glow of the sun in my eyes. Like I just loved everything about it. And my dead roses and everything just felt really romantic. It felt like this connection to Persephone, the underworld, and all this other like magic and ritual stuff that I was doing. It felt Disney princess. And then some of them I edited to be not as romantic. Like there's obviously just me posing like nude outside, but to me, how I was envisioning it was you stumbled upon a nymph or a fairy or a goddess out in nature, and I always tend to perceive and picture those symbolisms to be nude because I feel like clothing is such a human construct. And so like in nature there's different types of clothing. Humans have chosen their own. Like obviously for dogs it's fur, and all of these other like trees there's leaves, but you know they go naked and bare at times. So I just felt like if you were a human who lived out in nature, if you were this goddess, you would just be out in nature, you'd be naked and nothing would be a problem. And so then it's like, but someone stumbles upon it. So very Sleeping Beauty or Snow White, in that sense. Some of these remind me of Snow White, some of them kind of remind me of Sleeping Beauty. I tried different placements with the bones and like the animal skulls that I had, other areas of like nudity. And then I also have like a red dress. That's where I feel like you get really Snow White. And then it's like kind of melting away from me, which also leads into this like illusion of skin and a mask that we put on. There's a lot, for a few years, there's been a lot of shells and layers breaking, masks falling, that veil thinning or disappearing. So there's a lot of that energy. And then like the way that our grapevines, like how they looked, they were dead, but like slightly slowly reawakening. So there was this like in between phase of them that I really liked. And then there was the dead, or the bare, not dead, but barren, apple trees around the vines as well that I feel like just added something to it. So I liked just how it all sat. And then there's also some more shadow aspect of it. Like I picture Snow White when she's going through the forest and everything's dark and scary. There's a few of those photos that kind of represent like the scary side, but it's such a quick flash. Like most of it's beautiful, and there's a few small moments of horror or fear. Some of my other projects, there's more fear than beauty, but I try to always have some of those more unsettling edits because I don't want people to get lost in too much of the glamour within it. But yeah, this was a fun shoot. I absolutely love it. I do feel like if I could do something like this again and make it better, I would, just with better props and setting. Like a lot of things, it's not been like me or my outfit or my poses or my edits. I want to be able to create more of a scene. And I feel like I've been having to create, like, it's just been having to do the best I can with what I have with these like really simplistic, more natural scenarios and background. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I like the edits. I like the lighting. I like the different moods that it pictures. So you could go into, Persephone entering the underworld in certain photos, but you can also see her rising up from it. And then you can see her dressing back into her earthly form from the underworld form. There's so many different ways you can do it, different things that inspired me. But another fun fact is this was when I revamped. This was one of the shoots that really I posted loudly about on social media, which has got my father-in-law a little bit more upset or uncomfortable with me. This photo shoot is what led to me blocking him. And at the time, my sister-in-law, I have unblocked my sister-in-law, but I blocked both of them because like he confronted my husband about what is she doing, and then he couldn't look me in the eye for like a couple months after I was posting these photos with like, because I took the photos to like post my poetry with and do other promotions and stuff. And he like couldn't even look at me. I was like, you want to add me on Facebook. You want to be involved, but yet you hate what I'm doing and you want to like, he wasn't overly rude about it. He could have been ruder. He's been ruder about other things. He's been a lot more vocal about his opinion about other things, but this, you could see he shifted in how he saw me, especially the fact that for a couple months he couldn't fucking even look me in the eye. He would like talk to me like this, or if he was looking at me, it was just like looking everywhere else, like couldn't look at me. And then he asked Chad about like what is she doing, and he's like, I told him you're taking pictures and whatever, the whole thing. And so that led to me fucking because it's like I got really tired of it. I was like, I'm tired of hiding these things. I'm tired of not expressing myself in this way. Because like my family, to go back to a few of my other shoots, Rouge, Living Dead Girl, What Nightmares Are Made Out of, or Nightmares Are Made of, or whatever, they gave a lot of criticism to me. And that kind of led into me meeting Chad and kind of questioning, well, is this something I still need to do? Like, am I doing this in the right way? Which, again, I think questioning is healthy. I might overthink it, but also through those, that's what I like to let people know. It's like, I really think about things. I've gotten to a point where I've learned whose criticism is worth listening to and whose isn't. Um, but feedback is feedback, and regardless, I sat with it, and at the end of the day, I'm proud of these. I'm going to continue to do it. I don't care if I was too young and naive. I don't care about the over sexualization of it. I don't care if I'm 30 and I might be a mother someday. I don't care about my professionalism and being in the healthcare field or whatever job that is going to deny me for expressing myself in this way. I don't care. I'm at peace with who I am and the way that I want to express myself. And if you can't fucking look me in the eye because of what it is that I'm doing, you don't deserve to know about me or my life. And that has like been a really hard boundary I've had to set that has dealt with a lot of heartbreak. I dreamed of this picture perfect family that I loved my in-laws. My in-laws loved me, and families going back and forth for holidays. My husband being involved with my nieces and my nephews and all of this stuff. I wanted so much more. I did not want to block my family or my in-laws. I didn't want to like sit with this resentment and frustration and anger and aggression from all of these things, but they don't support me. They don't like me. They don't support me. And I mean, they don't like me. It's not just that they don't like what I'm doing. At their core, at their purest of hearts, they don't like me. And I don't care. I can't care. I can't care anymore about people liking me. I'm as people pleasing as I have been. At the end of the day, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I don't care if you like it or not. Because eventually I'll just quit talking to you. Eventually I'll just block you. Eventually I'm gonna give up trying to get you to see me. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna try, because I believe everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt. And it's like, oh, well, there's all of these life experiences and perspectives and reasonings, paradigms that you have, cultural influences that you have for why you're judging me and approaching me in the way that you are. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to be different, to be better. And once you burn that bridge, it's fucking gone. And I don't care anymore. And that fuse is getting shorter and shorter and shorter the more I age. I think when I was younger, I gave people so many chances. Like my mother, I gave her so many chances to be able to see me. I gave my father 10 years worth of chances to get to know me and to see me and to genuinely love me and not change me. There's one thing to inspire and influence and whatever people to grow. It's another thing to try to fix and change somebody. And if these photo shoots have taught me anything, it's that there's nothing wrong with me. You can't fix me because I'm not broken. And you won't change me because I am perfectly content and happy with being me, and it's my life. And if I want to fix it, if I want to change it, then I will, of my own free will, not of anyone else's. With that, I'm going to quit rambling about these two shoots of mine, but they really opened up and inspired and influenced a lot of deep healing for myself and everything that they represent. But every art piece has a deep divine story. And so thank you for listening and diving into my weird world.